to Covering the Fields with your host, Joe Ellison.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Covering the Field, the weekly program that analyzes all sports, handicaps them, and makes predictions. I'm your host, Joe Ellison, and today we're going to talk about college basketball, hockey, the NBA, racing, and our You Got Hosed segment. We'd like to remind you listeners to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Please give us your feedback, tell us your You Got Hosed stories, and visit our coveringthefield.com website daily to check out our many articles and our picks of the day and week. Find us on Twitter at Covering Field. Now, kicking things off this week, I'd like to introduce our men's college basketball expert, Big Richard Martin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Joe. March just rolled in, and when March rolls in, the birds are singing, the sun is shining, the snow is melting, and the balls are hitting the hardwood court, and it's time for March Madness.
Well, tell us about the craziness that's been happening, is happening, and will be happening in
Joe,
the next
you're
week.
exactly right, because March Madness just started a couple days early. Last Saturday, it went crazy in the NCAA. My tickets were all shredded because 7 out of the top 10 teams go down. The top 5 teams go down. Gonzaga loses at St. Mary. Great pick by Pistol Pete. Told me to take that, but there was no money on my books to take it. Had Arizona at Colorado. Another loss for Arizona. Auburn goes down to Tennessee and gets shellacked. Kansas goes to Baylor. Baylor bounces back to the top 10 and beats Kansas 80-70. Villanova goes down to UConn. UConn bounces back into the top 20. Kentucky goes down at Arkansas, which we did tell you to take the over on that, which flew over. And Texas Tech go down to TCU. And then TCU just goes and beats Kansas last night. Now, how does that happen? I mean, TCU is like David and Goliath. They're just knocking down monsters. I think we should send these guys to the Ukraine to take out Putin.
So how do you explain all these upsets that have been happening?
Well, they're all on the road, and as you know, it's their last home games. A lot of these teams, those are their last home games. They're playing at home. There's no other sport but college basketball, maybe college football, that home field advantage, home court advantage is very appropriate, very ways you should make your bets, especially on their last game on senior nights. And these teams just came out and balled. The teams definitely feed off the crowd, and it's just electric, and that's why college basketball will always be better than the NBA, and I think it's just such a great sport.
So which games should we be watching coming up this week?
Well, it's rivalry week. Try to say that and not sound drunk. But this week we have North Carolina visits Duke. The last time Coach K coaches at Cameron, I'm taking Duke. I don't care what the points are. Take Duke. They're going to go. Cameron Crazy is going to be bouncing, and Duke's going to roll over their rival, North Carolina. We also have Arkansas at Tennessee. I like the over in that. The spread ain't out yet. I suspect it'll be anywhere between 140 to 143, maybe to 146. Arkansas doesn't let the ball bounce 3 times before they shoot. They love to run up down the court. Always a high-scoring game. Texas at Kansas. Kansas is going to win their last game and go over that shellacking that they took from TCU this week. UCLA visits USC visits UCLA. 2 great teams. They're rated probably 15 and 16 right now. I think that UCLA gets it done at home. And Auburn at Alabama at LSU. LSU wins the home game.
There are also going to be 32 conference tournaments with automatic bids to the big dance going to the winners. And 11 of them are already bettable this week where there's odds out. Tell us about some of those. And
well, the futures came out just this week. We had a couple of the 8 and 9 seeds started Monday and Tuesday. They're getting started. You can still bet the futures on those. We have, so as you just said, 32. There's 32 conferences. So the winner of these 32 automatically get a bid to the big dance to the NCAA, regardless of their record, regardless of what they've done, regardless if you might have won all your conference games, but if you don't win your this tournament, that you do not get an automatic bid to the tournament. You have to have it on your RPI rating. So let's go to the WAC. I'm going to take New Mexico State because there's nobody even in that WAC that's any good. Maybe Grand Canyon, we give them a little nod, but take New Mexico State to win that. You can get some plus odds on that. The Atlantic Sun, I like Liberty. They got Darius McGee. He averages 24.7 points per game, plus shoots 40% beyond the three-point land. Liberty looks like a strong favorite. Take them. In the American East, Vermont, they're on a 21-1 run right now. They got Ben Shaggy out there. He shoots 43% from the three-point line. They also have Ron Davis, their big power forwards. He averages 17.2. I like Vermont to win the American East. The Ohio Valley, you have Murray State. They're a top 20 team. They look great. They went 18-0 on their conference. They're going to lock in for sure. Summit, you got South Dakota State Jackrabbits, 18-0 again, and they're in the Summit division. They should have no problem rolling over anybody in that league. And you also have Gonzaga in the WCC, West Coast Conference. They have their great record of 24-3. They did lose to St. Mary, but I think when you get our natural court, they'll be playing down there in Las Vegas. I think Gonzaga shouldn't have any problems. Another one to look on that, though, Joe. You have San Francisco. They're at 10-1 odds. They average over 75 points a game. They can run up and down the court. They can maybe stun Gonzaga. It's a good bet at 10-1. You might put $10 on that and get a $100 payoff. And also in the Southern Division, Chattanooga, Tennessee, they average 75 points a game, 35% three-point as a team, and they also shoot the free throws really good, 74%. So I like Chattanooga to take the Southern Division.
Well, that's a good list of picks right there. And I would have to ask, though, which conferences would you say are the strongest? Like the conference tournaments that are coming up, which ones are the ones we should really be watching next week?
Well, we have to tip our hat to the Big Ten. Wisconsin just won the Big Ten, at least a share of it last night, with their great win over Purdue. That was probably one of the best games that I've seen all year. They go down there and shoot it was tied after Ivy goes down there and ties it with a 3-point with 8 seconds left. They come back and shoot it off the glass, 25-footer off the glass. It was a great shot. Wisconsin, congratulations to them. They weren't even favored to come close in the Big Ten. They are at least co-champions with Illinois. If they beat Nebraska, which they should go ahead and wrap that up. So I like the Big Ten. Ohio State, I can't figure them out. They're so bipolar. They remind me of my ex-wife. They're bipolar, and they take all my money every time I bet on them. So, I'm going to stick with Illinois has a really good chance to win that, or Michigan. Michigan's coming off, like I told you last week. They rallied behind their coach. They've won 3 straight. They're hot right now. They just shellacked Michigan State. So Big Ten, SEC looks great. They're exciting to watch anyway, running up and down the court. You got Alabama, Auburn, and Arkansas, Tennessee. They look great. That whole conference is awesome. Kentucky, of course. And then, the Pac-10 should have 3 teams in there with UCLA, USC, and Oregon and Arizona. So they'll probably have 4 teams in there. But I like these mid-majors like I was talking about. There's going to be some upsets, and that's what we're going to look into. But ACC looks pretty weak this year besides Duke.
All right, Big Rich, do you have any other predictions on any of the games this week? Or did we cover them all?
We covered them all. We have the spreads aren't out for the weekend games yet, so I'll wait till those spread comes out. I'll get with our producer. We'll put a couple Big Rich picks out there, and we'll go from there. Just a great game with Coach K this week. Make sure you tune into that. Watch his last home game at Cameron.
All right. Well, Big Rich, before you go, you were the football analyst here on Covering the Field. Was there any news last week from the National Football League?
Well, everybody's meeting right now for the Combine. That starts tomorrow. So all the executives, GMs, coaches are all out there. This is a time where all the trades, the trades can't start until free agency until next week, but this is when everything starts getting the rumors. This is when we got the Matthew Stafford news last year when Matthew Stafford, that blockbuster trade with Detroit and LA Rams. So I expect something to come up. Aaron Rodgers is like, who knows what that guy's doing? I'm not even going to try to guess. But I would say that something's going on this week. Either he's going to stay or go. We're going to know real shortly. So the Combine is always good to watch and see who these future draft picks for your favorite team is.
And what about Kyler Murray? Certainly in the news.
You say Kyler Murray or Kyler Murray?
I think it's Kryler Murray.
All right, yeah, we'll call him Kryler Murray. I don't, get on him what his decision is. He wants a long-term contract. I think you should have watched how Patrick Mahomes handled that. He's definitely a franchise player and something that you need to be successful in the NFL. Arizona has a great quarterback, so I think that they should really invest in him. I don't know if they were then calling him disruptive, and the way he went out of that Rams game in that playoff game where he said he wasn't going to play the last two plays. So I don't know, man. I mean, let's see what happens. I think that Arizona will definitely break down and give him his money, which he deserves.
Well, Arizona does have him for next year for $5 million a year, and then they have a fifth-year option. And I guess they could probably franchise tag him a couple of years after that, the way the NFL rules are.
Yeah, and as you know, the NFL players, when they get franchise tags, they take it personal, like you don't have any long-term trust with me. It's just not a good way to have your franchise quarterback be franchise tagged. I don't think that's a great decision as a team that you want to build the unity. And as your team leader, you have to show that he's going to be your player for a long time.
Well, Murray did get hurt the last 2 years before the season ended, and he doesn't have any playoff wins. So maybe that might be the argument of ownership, maybe to kind of test the waters the next couple of years and see what happens.
Well, I agree. He got injured, and then his feelings got injured, obviously, somewhere down the line. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And what's the story on this NFL taunting rule?
They went over the playoff committee or the NFL committee, rules committee are getting together this week. So we should have we're definitely going to change that. Overtime in the playoffs is going to have to be a rule changed, as they didn't give the ball to Josh Allen in Buffalo, and everybody in Buffalo is still upset about that. But I think that there'll be some changes. But they went over the taunting calls from last year. There were 61 taunting calls last year, and all but 5 were valid. So the taunting, I looked it up what the rule was, and this is to ride, mock, bait, or embarrass an opponent. I mean, I think that's what we're supposed to be doing in football. I mean, you can't knock a guy on his rear end and then say you didn't embarrass him, but there has to be some point. I understand, but I just don't like the referees getting involved, because I'm betting on the players, not the referees, that feels that this is it's a subject call. Wasn't embarrassing. I don't know. I don't like it, especially when it causes the outcome of the game. I think the players should have the outcome of the game.
Yeah, it'll get a little out of control if the players just kind of get in each other's faces and start pointing at each other and throwing the ball at each other. There has to be a line drawn somewhere. That's the point, I guess. But
that's what they're trying to get away from. But, as you looked at college basketball, they all shake hands. They were talking about changing that rule too. But in college basketball, after every game, you have to go shake hands. And that's when you're heated and you're upset, let a guy calm down a little bit before he has to shake somebody's hands. Coach Howard had that problem last week in Wisconsin after a tough loss. So, I mean, I see the side on both sides. I think good sportsmanship is always the best way to go if we could do that.
And one final couple notes. Green Bay is going to have their first trip to England. They are the last team to not have an international regular season game. And Tampa Bay will be playing in the first game in Germany ever.
Wouldn't that be a great game to go to? Maybe our producer can get us some tickets to that, because I'd sure like to drink some of that Pilsner beer out there in Germany and watch the Green Bay Packers.
Sounds like fun. Well, great job, Big Rich, and thank you.
All right, watch the games this week. It's going to be great.
Next up, we're going to talk about some ladies hoops, baseball, and horse racing with our analyst, Ronnie McKinnon. How's it going today, Ronnie?
Joe, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing just fine.
Right on.
So March Madness isn't just happening for the men. What's been going on lately in women's college basketball?
Well, Joe, this is championship week for 32 automatic berths to the 2022 Women's NCAA tournament. The conference tournament to open last night. The starting Saturday, at least one conference champ will be crowned each day until the NCAA bracket is revealed on Selection Sunday, March 13th.
So what kind of games have been going on lately that have been deciding how these seeds are going to start coming out?
Right. Well, this week there was a couple good games on Friday. Number 10 Indiana actually lost to number 13 Maryland. It was a good game, 67-64. Then on Sunday, number 6 Michigan lost to number 21 Iowa, 104-80. Right now, the top 10 is South Carolina, Stanford, North Carolina State, Louisville, Baylor, and he also got the Baylor men in the top 10 also. LSU's number 6, then Connecticut, Iowa State, Texas moved into the top 10. Michigan is number 10. Indiana dropped from number 10 to number 15, actually tied with number 14, Arizona.
So are you going to have any tournament or game predictions for this week?
Not this week, but I'm kind of getting ready for some March Madness, which is still a ways away. We have to go through all these games. But this week, I don't think so. I'm actually, we had talked about, I'm picking some horse racing at the grade 1 races at Santa Anita. I will put those on tomorrow. We'll talk about that in just a bit.
Yes, we will get to that. But you are a huge baseball fan, and clearly the news isn't good lately. What happened, and what does the future hold in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, well, it's not good. They're acted like they were getting close on some major issues, and they weren't. And yeah, it's not good. They've canceled games. They met 9 straight days, and then they by Tuesday at 2 o'clock Eastern time, they decided, okay, we can't make a deal, and now they're saying we're not going to meet till at least Thursday. The season will begin now no earlier than April 7th, which is a week later, and spring training games will be no earlier than March 12th, and that doesn't look good at this point for sure. You know, it's a $10 billion industry. And you know, I feel for the fans. I know a lot of people root for the players. I've played baseball my whole life into my late 40s, and my older brother was in AA. We were a big baseball family, and I love it, and I'll always love it. But yeah, they can lose some fans, and you know, you got to have the fans, right? The players need them, the owners need them. Yeah, it's pretty sad. And as a player, like I was going to say, you know, I'm not all for the players. I mean, it's both. It takes two. It's both of them. You know, both the owners and the players. So. You know, they need to get it together, and you know, we don't know if that's going to happen. You know, we'll see. You know, because of the 2020 pandemic and the shortened season in 2020, they're saying, you know, they have said spring training. Manfred actually said this. The MLB commissioner said that they'll probably need 4 weeks in order to get ready to play and properly prepared for the season. So real quick, you know, there's a lot of stuff, but the main thing is the major issues that still need to be worked out are the pre-arbitration bonus pool, the minimum salaries, and the competitive balance tax, which is also known as the luxury tax, and also service time management. Draft pick compensation, draft lottery, amateur system, those things are in there. They'll probably be able to deal with those, but those aren't the major issues. So it doesn't look good, Joe.
Yeah, well, 91 games canceled already. So it can only get worse from there.
That's right. I mean, yeah, there was a work stoppage back in 94, 95, and we lost some fans there, but they've still got a lot of fans here almost 20 years later, but or 30 years later. But trust me, there'll be some people stepping back, and if they don't get their act together. So it's pretty sad, especially as a huge baseball fan.
Well, we'll try to cheer things up for you. You did mention you love betting on the horses. What big races are coming up this weekend, and do you have predictions yet?
Right, Joe, we had talked about this before. I think I mentioned it last week. The Santa Anita Handicap down in Arcadia, California, where I grew up, right across the Huntington Drive from. They're having the grade 1 races. It's called Big Cap Day there at Santa Anita. There'll be 3 different grade 1 races that I will be putting some picks on by tomorrow. They will be for Saturday. These races will be on Saturday, and the grade 1 races are include like Triple Crown, which we all get into, and also Breeders' Cup races. So I will be doing some picks and putting them on there, and here by tomorrow night.
All right, I'll be looking forward to that. Were there any huge results from last week's races worth mentioning?
Oh, I think we had talked about the Saudi Cup, the world's richest horse race, $20 million. That was on Saturday, the 26th, and a long shot called Emblem Road won that race. A couple of U.S. horses, Country Grammar and Midnight Bourbon, who I've bet on in previous races before, both from the U.S. They came in 2nd and 3rd respectively. It was a 9-furlong race on the dirt, so pretty exciting for that the horse and owners of Emblem Road.
Well, especially if you bet on him too. He went off at 99-1.
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, the long shot. Yeah, crazy. I'm sure somebody had some money on him, right?
Everyone tries a 99-1, right? No.
Yeah, just to give it a shot.
Just to get just $2, what the heck?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and Bob Baffert's trained horse, Country Grammar, came in 2nd.
Correct.
And it's good that he didn't win, considering his the way he's been acting lately.
Correct. Yeah, and you know how I feel about him. Never been one of my favorites, but and we'll see as it goes. He's got a bunch of horses in these races Saturday at Santa Anita, so
we'll see how that goes. Ronnie, thank you for your info.
Joe, thanks for having me.
Our next guest today is our NBA handicapper, Marc the Shark Sabella. How are you feeling today, Marc?
Doing great, Joe. How are you?
Doing just fine. So, Marc, what was the big news in the National Basketball Association last week?
2 days ago, Joe, Ja Morant dropped 52 on the Spurs. Since about 2 months ago, this guy has been playing at an elite MVP status right now for the association. And this is just another example of it, Joe. And you and I really remember, at the beginning of the whole season, I had kind of predicted a breakout year for him and a breakout year for Memphis. But this leads me to my only take or fake for you this week, Joe, and that is take or fake, Joe. Memphis is now the best team in the association with the way Morant has been playing, the way all the other guys have been rallying around him, and with Golden State and Phoenix actually struggling and losing games that they should have been winning at home and otherwise after the break.
Well, can't say I've been watching a whole lot of the NBA lately. I know Chris Paul is hurt for Phoenix.
Yes.
That's a big loss. I'm not sure about Golden State, how healthy they are.
We're missing 3 starters right now: Draymond Green,
Yes.
and Looney, and a couple of other players. And Steph Curry really has cooled off from his fast MVP start to begin the season. The game that they dropped the other night to Dallas, where they were at home and up by 17 and late in the third quarter, that's just not something you see from the elite teams. Memphis is not doing that now. They are putting away people, stepping on their throats, and just finishing it. So,
At the moment, I guess Memphis is playing the best. When I see Phoenix and Golden State at full health, then I'll be able to really see, Memphis hasn't had that big playoff run. So projecting to the playoffs, they might be a year away, perhaps, but I'll certainly be rooting for Memphis.
that's a very good point, Joe. And yes, I guess I'm getting kind of hyped, like in the big Richard hype right now. That's his team. So it's kind of it's exciting to bet on them, and I'm getting kind of caught up myself. But yes, they are definitely in the top 3 best teams right now.
Yeah, I'd say those 3 are the best, and then an East team would have to be 4th best.
Exactly. And Joe, I have to go on by saying that the trade rumor that was denied by both sides, and it just keeps giving us gifts every single week. The trade that'll never die, the Ben Simmons for Harden trade, Nets and Philly. The latest on that is New York City Mayor Eric Adams came out this week, and there's been speculation that the rules in the New York area, the New Jersey area, is actually relaxing, just like around the country and around the world right now. And so there's been speculation that they were going to give Irving a free pass on this, which would, he has been steadfast against getting any vaccination and just playing his games on the road, but not in the New York City area. Well, New York City Mayor Eric Adams comes out this week and says, no exceptions. Making an exception for Nets Kyrie Irving would send the wrong message to the other city workers. So if anyone out there was thinking that, maybe it's going to happen pretty soon, it's not going to it's nowhere on the timeline right now. It seems like the city is taking a stance against Irving, and Irving is going to continue to just be a dramatic figure for the Nets organization and for the association right now.
Well, that seems fair. It's going to be either everybody or nobody. I'll go with that. And
yeah.
Of course, if they play Toronto, then in the playoffs, then he won't be able to play in Toronto, and he won't be able to play at home either.
Hey, Joe, I wonder if he's still getting paid for all these games just because he won't get a vaccination.
That's good money if you can get it.
Yeah, exactly. And on the other side, Joe, the Nets Ben Simmons, who got, who is joining Irving, basically sitting down, still has not been cleared to even practice with the team, which is strange because wasn't he out this whole time and should have been practicing then? I'm not sure what's going on there, but he has not even been cleared to practice with the team. So there's no timetable for him to even be playing a real game. However, KD should be activated and be playing again by the end of the week.
Well, at least that's one of them. I could never understand what's going on with these guys, and I'm glad I don't root for any of those teams.
Exactly, Joe.
So was there an issue with some proposition wagering going on?
Exactly, Joe. Yeah, this is a huge story that came out from the Big Mouse the other day. And We have a wonderful little section that we call "You Got Hosed" at the end of our great program. But this is so bad, it would be called "You Got Effed." And it probably is affecting not only you and I and all the guys, on our show, but many of the listeners, if not a bunch of listeners out there. And what I'm going to refer to has been going on for quite some time, but it's becoming more vocal as there are more sports proposition bets that are starting to happen. And, the William Hills of the world and the sports betting places, Caesars and et cetera, they are starting to make more and more bets to try and generate more and more revenue. Well, the game I go back to in the association was February 9th. It was the Chicago Bulls against the Charlotte Hornets. Zach LaVine throws a two-handed pass to DeMar DeRozan, who takes one dribble to get into the lane and then lifts up a running jumper, gets fouled on his leg for hoop and harm. And my question to you, Joe, is just listening to that, would you think that Zach LaVine would have gotten the assist on that play?
Well, it seems like it by your description. That's an assist.
Yes. So you and I and hundreds of thousands of people across the nation who saw that play agreed it was an assist for LaVine. The way this is so controversial is the NBA didn't see it that way. And the official statisticians of the NBA has basically said, no, we've looked it over and over and over. That was not considered an assist. It was too much creativity on DeMar DeRozan's part to get the assist. Well, the reason why that's you got effed is a lot of people took Zach LaVine over 5.5 assists that night. That would have put him at 6. He didn't play the rest of the game and didn't get the final assist. So many people that took the over in that is complaining to the NBA about it, and they're not going to change the ruling on that. Nor after it's been so many days, you can't really cash out the ticket anyway. So, but it kind of leads to a bigger thing, Joe. Is there's more and more of these proposition bets, and it can come down to a half, a hook or something, right? A half a point, a half, even at the end of they have to make a ruling on if the player got a ball off, for an over in points. If it goes in, and you and I are seeing it, but the NBA goes, well, not only do we not think it went in on time, but who cares? They lost by 17 anyways. Well, okay, so we're making bets on things where there is some critical human error going on. And I wanted to warn the listeners about that this is kind of a big story that's going on. And the NBA is going to definitely beef up the stats department over there and kind of really do auditing and review and checking of these things, so that, because it's becoming too big of an industry. It's becoming too big of a money machine. So it's just something for everyone to think about.
Well, get ready to get hosed every once in a while when you're making prop bets would be the advice.
Exactly, Joe.
Well, one last subject before we get to your predictions. How are our Lakers doing lately?
Oh boy, Joe, the Lakers, they're actually unwatchable right now. They've been on national TV the last 3 games, and they have just blown it each and every game. They've actually had leads in all 3 of those games and just completely imploded. It's getting so bad now. Anthony Davis is probably going to be ruled out for the rest of the year. So if anyone has been guessing, and that could have been a good take or fake, is, will the Lakers even make the playoffs? I mean, they're in the 10th seed right now. And right now, there's no good news on the horizon. You have LeBron, who just keeps posturing to get out of there. Now there's rumors that Anthony Davis may exercise his option at the end of the year and take off to another team, because he's thinking LeBron is going to beat him to the punch, and he's going to leave before LeBron leaves. So management keeps putting out things that say, don't worry, Lakerland, everything is fine, but we're going to make max contracts with each of them. But what do you do about Russell Westbrook? What do you do about all these other like over the hill or one-year players that are just getting the league minimum? The last player, who is the fourth highest player, TNT, Talen Horton-Tucker, I call him TNT because he was dynamite last year. He isn't this year. He is a dud. And you got to figure out, okay, you kept TNT and you didn't keep Alex Caruso? I mean, really some weird, questionable decision-making here. So it's going to be a really strange rest of the season and offseason, Joe, for the Lakers.
Yeah, I saw a picture of Russell Westbrook the other day, and I thought it was kind of ironic. He wears 0 because he's been a total 0. And he's not the only one. And it's very disappointing for my Lakers.
Exactly, Joe.
Yeah. So, Mark, let's get to your predictions for this week's games. What do you got?
Well, Joe, starting on Thursday, March the 3rd, Miami, who would be pretty much your best team in the East, maybe a top 4 that we were just talking about. They roll into the aforementioned Brooklyn Nets. And of course, Kyrie will not be playing with Brooklyn. Miami is 41-21. They are first in the Southeast Division right now, 20-14 on the road. And they have a 6-game road winning streak right now as we talk. Brooklyn is still, they're still above 500, but they're fading fast, 32-30. They're fourth in the Atlantic Division. Joe, they are an incredibly embarrassing 3-11 in their last 14 home games. Yikes. Miami has won both games from Brooklyn this year, one at home and one on the road. They're 2-0. I'm looking for Miami to be a 1.5, 2-point favorite in this game. I'm also banking that KD is not going to be playing on Thursday. I did just mention he's going to be playing by the end of the week. I don't think he'll be playing in that game. If he's not, definitely take Miami in the points on that one. The next game, have the mighty fallen. And I'm going to be catching a falling knife here, Joe. Golden State, 1-1-8 in the last 10 against the spread. I can't even believe I'm saying that.
1-8-1, you mean?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. I always put ties in the middle there, but no, 1-8-1. Yes, they have one push. In the last 10 against the spread, we were talking about Steph possibly being the most valuable player in the early parts of the year. No more. He is missing. He is looking a little bit tired. And this is the first time, Joe, that I can actually say in the season that he looks like he's getting tired, running out of gas, whatever. Now, of course, can he turn it around? Absolutely. Do the Warriors have a lot of injuries? Absolutely. But the game in particular on Thursday, they're playing at Dallas. Dallas was the one that Golden State just lost an incredibly brutal game to Dallas at home last Sunday. And, they were up by 17 in the third. I was already going to the cashier's booth to go cash in my winning ticket with them because I had picked them on last week's show. No, Dallas comes roaring back and wins the game, and I lose. So Dallas is probably going to be a 3.5-point favorite. Dallas has been playing great since the break, and even just before it. 32-25, 3-1 in their last road games, and 4-2 on their last homestand. So, and they're on the road right now. They beat the Lakers last night. So they're going to be 3.5-point favorites. I am going to catch the falling knife, Joe. I'm going to take Golden State with as many points as I can get. I think Steph and team try to rebound and not have two embarrassing losses back to back on that. For my disaster game of the week, it's also a Thursday game, the Lakers and the Clippers, the Battle of LA, both mediocre teams, both at the very low end of the playoff part of the roster, part of the playoff seedings. AD is probably going to be out the rest of the season, and then on the Clippers side, no Kawhi and no Paul George, but no problem. They're going to beat the Lakers. Take the Clippers. I think the Lakers are reeling. They have no answers for anybody, not even the Sisters of Mercy right now. Take however many points the Clippers are giving, just take them. I'm guessing it'll be about -7, but until the Lakers can prove they can even be competitive with number 0 right now, I would definitely take any of their opponents right now. On Friday, March the 4th, you got Milwaukee, 37-25, 16-13 on the road. They'll be playing at number 2 in the East, Chicago, 39-23, 4-2 in their last 6 home games right now. And Milwaukee beat Chicago at home as 11-point favorites last week, but didn't cover. But I'm guessing Milwaukee will be a point favorite on the road. I'm going to take Chicago for the home win on that, Joe. Saturday, March the 5th, Philadelphia, and I hate to say it, but James Harden's been playing in lights out since then. He and Embiid have just been incredible together. 37-23 overall, 21-10 on the road. And these are one of the teams, Joe, that you and I always talk about that are better on the road than than at home. Philadelphia has definitely proven that with the 21-10 record. They go into number 1 in the East, Miami. That's going to be a great game. Miami lost to Philadelphia in Miami as a home favorite on January 15th, but they still remain 41-21 overall, 21-7 at home. They're 9-1 against the spread in the last 10, Joe. I'm going to take Miami as the home dog that day with as many points as I can get. Sunday, March the 6th, Phoenix, who is no longer the blazing sun in the desert right now, they are, however, they're 49-12. They're still pretty much in the top spot of the NBA if you rule out Memphis at this point in time. They're 14-2 in their last 16 road games. They're 8-2 against the spread in the last 10. Well, okay, what's the problem, Mark? What's going on with all that? Well, the problem is that you still have Chris Paul out for several more weeks, and they're probably just going to rest him before the playoffs, Joe. So I don't know if Booker can really carry this team by himself, if it's going to be one of those things where, they're going to coast and just try and keep the highest playoff seeding that they can. They go into Milwaukee. That's going to be a tough place for them to play. Phoenix did beat Milwaukee at home by 24 on February 10th. So they rung them up the last time. But again, Chris Paul was probably playing in that game. Milwaukee's 37-25, 21-12 at home. They've been doing this weird pattern. They're 4-4 in their last 8 home games. They go back and forth with a win and a loss and a win and a loss. They won their last home game. So I'm going to take Phoenix, thinking that the pattern will continue and Milwaukee's going to lose that game at home. And also Phoenix will probably be getting ample number of points. So I'll take Phoenix in the points, Joe. On Monday, March the 7th, Golden State, 43-18. Again, they go into Denver. I'm already thinking that Golden State will bounce back against Dallas a couple of games earlier. They're racked with injuries right now, Joe. A lot of their starters are still out. They're going to be getting them back at the end of the month, but not soon enough. They're going into Denver, and Denver's tough at home. 36-25 overall, 17-10 at home, 7-3 home against the spread the last 10. They beat Golden State in the Bay Area on February 16th as 5-point dogs. So I'm guessing Denver will probably be a point or so favorite. I'm actually going to take Denver to do a mile high, take the air out of the arena victory on that one, Joe. Tuesday, March the 8th. We don't ever talk about New Orleans for good reason, other than the fact that they destroyed the Lakers at home the other day, which just adds to all the Lakers' misery. New Orleans is 25-36 and 12-19 on the road. They're 6-4, however, against the spread in the last 10, but they're going to be playing at one of my favorite teams of the year, Memphis. Memphis is going to probably be 9-point favorites. Interestingly enough, Joe, they're 43-20. They're first in the Southwest. They're 10-2 in their last 12 home games. They did lose to New Orleans back in November before they became a scorching hot team. So they were a road fave in that game, and they lost in New Orleans. I think this is revenge time. I'm going to call this my Big Rich special because Rich is just all over this and is all over Memphis anyways. I'm going to take Memphis and give the 9 points. Finally, Joe, Wednesday, March the 9th, Phoenix at Miami. This is another tough game. Phoenix will be playing at Milwaukee just a couple days before that. This is just an incredible tough East Coast swing for them. Now, what's crazy is will they be 18-2 if they beat Milwaukee, which is what I'm predicting. In their last 17 road games. They're going to be going into Miami. And again, will Miami, if they win earlier in the week against Philadelphia, like I'm predicting, there'll be 10-1 against the spread at home in the last 11. So Miami pulverized Phoenix on January 8th by 23. This is really going to be a tough game, Joe. Phoenix at Miami. Miami, I guess, either pick them or -1. If CP3 was playing, no, you have to give the nod to Phoenix. But I'm going to give the nod to Miami at home on this one.
All right. Well, that's a good list of games. I wish you luck on those. Excellent job, Marc. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Joe. As always, it's always fun.
Our final guest today, here to talk about a variety of sports, is Gator Gates. How are things going today, Gator?
With this beautiful weather, I'm doing excellent, Joe. Feeling great.
First off, Gator, what are the newest stories in the National Hockey League?
Well, Joe, we had the outdoor stadium series in Nashville, and that game to me felt like a playoff game. Tampa Bay Lightning team was very shocked to see so many Bolt fans in the stands, and everyone on that team said that motivated them even more. Now, Tampa Bay won 3-2, and if you look at this box score, every category except for the faceoff wins, which Nashville had 59%, were very close. So this, for a regular season game, Joe, this was an exciting game.
I'm sorry I missed that one. Forgot about it.
Oh.
What else was going on?
Well, due to the COVID, a total of 16 minor league coaches have been called up to fill in for the NHL coaches that were absent. And one broadcaster, Andy Zilch, he's done the play-by-play since 2018 for the San Diego Gulls, was called up to Anaheim to do their play-by-play for the Ducks. Now, Joe, there are too many players to go through that list, so I didn't.
Yes, a ton of COVID going through the NHL. So,
Ton.
what is there a team that looks looking particularly good right now?
Oh, I'd have to go with Calgary, Joe. They're 11-1. Just really hot right now. And of course, our Avalanche is 6-1 and still at the top of their division.
How about my favorite, my Boston Bruins?
Oh my God, they look like the Stanley Cup team that I thought that they were going to be. They look so great, Joe. I just hope that their goalies can do some playoff hockey. I don't know, Joe.
I know Tuukka Rask retired, but Jeremy Swayman in his last 6 games, he's giving up less than 1 goal per game. So there's promise there.
Very, very promising.
So Gator, your predictions last week were just fine. You went 6-4, but over the last 13 weeks, you've gone 75-23, which is an excellent 77%.
Right.
What are your picks for this week?
Okay, Joe. Well, let's go through Thursday. I have 1 game. That's Colorado against Arizona, and they are in Arizona. Friday, I got 1 game as well, the Rangers over New Jersey. But New Jersey has been playing very hot, so this one does kind of scare me a little bit. Saturday, I got 2 games. I got Washington over Seattle, and I got Edmonton over Montreal. Again, Montreal is 5-1 right now in their last 6. Sunday, I got Carolina over Seattle. Monday, I have Boston over LA, Florida over Buffalo, and Colorado is going to be at the Islanders. I'm going to take Colorado again. Tuesday, Colorado has to play New Jersey. I think that they'll win it again. And I also have Toronto over Seattle.
Well, good luck with those picks, and to our listeners who tried them too.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Shifting over to NASCAR, how did last week's race in California end up?
Okay. Well, Kyle Larson at 5-2, he won the Wise Power 400 in Fontana, California. With 20 laps to go, Kyle put his teammate Chase Elliott, the one that I picked, into the wall while he was fighting off Joey Logano. Now, Chase Elliott did finish 26 because of that, but because of that accident or wreck, that brought out a record 12 cautions for the race. Now, with 4 laps left, Kyle had to fend off Austin Dillon and Daniel Suarez on this 5-wide track. And Larson took the checkered flag for his 17th career win. Now, Tyler Reddick won the first 2 stages, but his race was over with 48 laps to go. He got a flat tire shortly after William Byron got loose and put him into the wall. Chevy took the first 4 spots, Ford got 5th, 6th, and 7th, and Toyota got 8th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Now, the next race, Joe, is going to be at Las Vegas Motor Speedway Sunday, and this is another one of those races that the books put out those props. Most of those books, though, you guys will not parlay those props, though.
Yes, look up the odds to win the race, the driver matchups, and the prop sheet. Plenty to bet on in Vegas. So the IndyCar season began last Sunday, and that, of course, is also bettable. What happened in Florida?
Wow, this was pretty exciting. Scott McLaughlin, he won the first Indy race for the 2022 season at St. Petersburg, Florida. He went off at a 75-1, Joe, and he did win pole, which was amazing. And was at even in the matchup against Colton Herta, who finished 4th. Now, that was Scott's very first win as well. He is from New Zealand and hasn't been home for 2 years. But after the race, he asked for a cold beer. Then he noticed some Australian fans in the victory lane. So he took off his lucky racing boot and dropped the beer inside it for an Aussie-style shoey. Now, he did have 3 V8 Supercar championships in Australia before he came to Indy. And Jimmy Johnson, this was his first race in the Indy cars. He got 23rd, and he was 1 lap down. Now, Joe, the winner of the season opener in the last 3 years has gone on to win the championship. And even if Scott doesn't win, I'm still thinking we're never going to see him at 75-1 again.
No, I doubt that very much. And I bet his odds to win the championship went down quite a bit too.
I would think so, Joe.
Yeah. Gator, third week of the Six Nations rugby competition was last weekend. What were the results there?
Well, France did beat Scotland 36-17. England beat Wales 23-19, and Ireland beat Italy 57-6. Now, Italy was covering that point spread until they got a red card in the 61st minute. And after that, the door was open for Ireland to pass France in goal differential. So if Wales beat France on Friday, March 11th, that would open the door for Ireland to take the lead if they can beat England on Saturday, March 12th.
Or even if England were to beat France the last week and Ireland were to continue to win, they would be in position.
That's correct, Joe, correct.
Yes. Well, my bet's
Very
went too.
exciting.
Oh, I love watching it. There won't be any games this week, but I did go 2-0 as Wales covered the 13 points and Ireland covered the minus 38. So I had a good week.
Yes, you did, Joe. Very good.
And watching the line movement, that went 1-1 as the line moved in Wales and Italy favor, where Wales covered and Italy did not. So the line movement now is 5-1 against the spread. So I would keep watching that. It seems like whoever's betting the big money seems to know what their rugby is.
Yeah, it sure looks like it on paper. Yep.
I will mention the Paralympics start Friday and last until next Sunday. That can be very interesting to watch, but it's not bettable. And I wish good luck to the Ukrainian people and the boxers and other athletes who are fighting, but they are no longer fighting in a ring. They're literally fighting like the Klitschko brothers and others. We wish them the best. And finally, we urge you to listen to a new Covering the Field sports short. Tennis's Davis Cup is coming to Reno this Friday and Saturday, and Gator and I will present a preview. So great job, Gator.
Oh, thank you so much, Joe. Thank you for
Yep.
having me.
Thank you. Sponsored by MXE Media, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time for the moments we've all been waiting for, the stories that make us furious about bets that would surely be winners, but in the end, something went horribly wrong. They ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So Gator, do you have a You Got Hosed story this week?
Yeah, Joe, my story is about Dan Milstein. He is an NHL player agent who was born in Kiev, Ukraine. And at the age of 16, he came to the United States. He represents 75% of the Russian and Belarus-born players. These players are being harassed on the streets, being booed in their locker rooms, and ads with the players are being pulled. Now, the U.S. Hockey League and the Canadian Hockey League are considering banning Russian players from being drafted next year. Now, Joe, these teenagers have nothing to do with what Putin does or doesn't do, and the NHL has the best talent in the hockey world. So I think that the Russian players, the Belarus players, and the whole NHL nation, including the fans, we are all getting hosed.
Yeah, you can't come up with a worse situation than that going on in the world, that's for sure. And it's definitely affecting the world of sports.
Very sad, very sad. Joe, do you have a You Got Hosed story for us?
Well, thankfully, I didn't get personally hosed on any tickets this week, but it's pretty clear there's a group of people who are getting hosed. That's the fans of Major League Baseball. On one end, you've got the players who rejected mediation that possibly could have quickly resolved this battle. And on the other end, you've got the owners who are sitting on enough money to not have to quickly resolve the issues. Who's stuck in the middle? The helpless baseball fans who are declining in number and waiting for the opportunity to watch a game or even go to the ballpark and spend their hard-earned money on the same people who are now bringing them their grief. Major League Baseball fans are getting completely hosed.
Completely. I agree totally, Joe.
I'm just glad it's not hockey or football that it's happening to right now.
Yeah, but what are we going to do in the summer, Joe?
Well, it'll just be a season with less than 162 games. I think they'll figure it out.
I sure hope so. I hope for everybody's sake.
You got hosed.
So that's all for this week's show. I'd like to thank my guests, Big Richard Martin, Rock and Ronnie McKinnon, Marc the Shark Sabella, and Gator Gates, our producer, our engineer, our editor, our junior IT tech, Caden Martin, and everyone for listening. We'd like you to visit our Covering the Field website to check out our many articles and our picks of the day and week. We'd like to remind you listeners to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Give us your feedback, your You Got Hosed moments, and any other comments you'd like to give us. And find us on Twitter at Covering Field. Hopefully you all enjoyed the show, and you'll hear us again next week on another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field, a CM World Services and the Sage production.